Hey humans, welcome. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be taking you behind the scenes of making the Kenya documentary, which just came out a few days ago. And talking about some of the struggles that I had while making that, and then also kind of zooming out and just being honest about some of the struggles that I've faced stepping into filmmaking in general and how I've been able to overcome some of those. All right, so first struggle that we had making this was I got hit so hard with the craziest cold I've ever had. I never get sick, and just before leaving for Kenya, I got really sick and actually lost my voice.
And this is what my voice sounds like. Hello. I literally cannot talk above a whisper.
We're like, what are we gonna do? Like, I can't talk. This isn't very conducive to conducting all these interviews and connecting with people. Yeah, that was just this major struggle because I couldn't be on camera doing recorded anything. I sounded like a frog.
I don't know how I'm gonna interview people like this. We're supposed to start filming tomorrow.
Yeah, I remembered that moment when I lost my voice. I was like, okay, I can still figure this out. I can still do this. It's just going to require some shifting and navigating. So yeah, you'll notice I don't have any actually on like talking to camera segments, and I just put all that time and energy back into the script and trying to write like a really strong narrative for that. So the second thing that happened was just before we left as well, we got a note from the client saying that the original story focusing only on the women and this all women's anti-poaching unit, which was like really where my heart was at with telling the story, wasn't going to be possible for a variety of reasons. And that just sort of broke me. Just pre-planning out the window, entire mood board, entire story, just everything was falling. The wheels were falling off the wagon, Honestly, I just wanted to sit there and cry. I did actually just sit there and cry, I think. But then it's like you have to go into problem-solving mode again. And that, I would say, was the biggest challenge in the whole making of this documentary, was landing and feeling like I was still having to find a story. So mid-panic, I was actually talking to one of my friends, Bryn North, I'm talking to him, and he said one of the marks of being, just a good filmmaker is that ability to adapt and to roll with what life is presenting you with, and to understand that the story might change, and just to be clear in your purpose, but malleable in how you get there and what exact shots you use to get there. So I knew that I still wanted to tell a story about the people behind conservation. So it wasn't just about the animals, which are they're so cool and so beautiful, but I wanted to tell the story about why, what makes someone want to dedicate their life to conservation? What makes someone take that path? And in my VO, in the final script, I said something about how I, as a person looking for my purpose in life, am really intrigued by others who have already found their purpose or seem to have found their purpose. So that was the intention behind the film, and I wanted to stay as true to that as possible. But okay, there are other individuals, not just this all women's anti-poaching unit. They're not the only ones in conservation. And so opening that lens, and we actually found some really cool humans who have done so much in the conservation space, and we were able to share their stories, particularly this guy Paul, who has never been interviewed, has never shared his story with anyone, and that was really special for me. This brings me to another point of contention or struggle. So if you've ever made a film, or you're like me and you live with a lot of filmmakers, you very quickly realize how important sound and sound design are for any piece. I think it's the part that kind of stresses us out the most as filmmakers, because you know how much of the editing process and how much of the mood of the story is really dictated by music and sound design, and how that really drives the edit forward. I feel like once you have the perfect song, the edit it's like you're just throwing the blocks into place, and it's super fun and it's awesome. But before you have it, you're like, I have no idea what to do with this. So there's a lot of licensing options out there. I personally use MusicBed, and they actually sponsored this video. It's the first time that I've reached out to a brand versus them reaching out to me, and I did that specifically because I think they have some of the best music choices out there. Also love using their curated playlist because it saves me a lot of time. And you can use my coupon code Chelsea at checkout to get your first month free when you purchase an annual subscription. And it also helps me make more content, so thank you. So how you tell a story, or how I tell a story, is just as important as the story itself. So alignment to me is really important. For example, if I'm hired to talk about, ocean plastics, I'm gonna go out and do a cleanup and then use that in my content, because that level of commitment or authenticity, I believe it really changes the way that like a film can resonate and can speak to an audience. So we spent a lot of time in this film talking with the cameras off before we ever recorded anything, and there was this part of me it's like this dance where you want to establish that really deep rapport and comfort with the people that are in your film. But there also was this moment where we were out in the field and Paul is saying these incredible statements that I'm like, oh my gosh, please, I just want to put a mic on you. But I didn't say that because I wanted to honor the moment. But those are things that I'm learning, like when to hit pause and say, hey, do you mind if I record this? And when to honor the space that you're in and the container that you're creating with that person, and then hoping that later on you can recreate kind of that same feeling or moment on camera as well. It was really hard, and honestly I still don't know if I made the right choice or not. I know that other people push a little bit harder, but I'm still so new in this that I really wanted to like respect this new friendship that we were forming, and that felt important to me. And the other thing was, so halfway through this planning process, it sort of hit me that, okay, we're supposed to be making this film about female empowerment and, rad women doing rad things. And I was like, oh, I need to have another female filmmaker on this with me. So that's how Aya got brought on board. Aya was a student actually in a conference that I taught at like years ago, but we've kept in touch over the years. She's always been just ultra motivated and ultra, wanting to take more things on. So called her up and hired her for this. I feel like I need an aspiring female filmmaker, and I want to bring her with me, and I want to give her that opportunity so that I am uplifting her in the same way that these women on camera are uplifting their communities. All right, and I'm going to wrap this up with probably, I don't know, just like the thing that I've learned, or I guess I continue learning the most in this life journey thing. I really pushed against stepping into being like, I guess, a director or a filmmaker or whatever this thing is called. I just didn't feel ready to take it on, and I had so many excuses as to why I wasn't ready or I wasn't the right person or whatever, and I actually turned it down twice before the owner of Roar, this amazing woman, actually called me, and she's just like, okay, why do you really not want to do this? Because it sounds like you're scared. And I just was like, oh man, I'm so called out right now. But I'm so glad now looking back, and I'm really grateful that everyone kind of pushed me, because I think it is in those places where we don't quite feel ready that's where the best learning happens. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it felt scary at times, and it felt like a lot of responsibility, and if I wanted a certain shot to happen, I really needed to be a leader. I needed to be decisive and to express that, and that's something that personally I'm not good at. Like I am a brilliant cheerleader. I am a brilliant supporter, and I love co-creating, and I love bringing out the best in other people. And so for me to be in that driver's seat, it felt weird. So I'm sure that there's a few of you out there right now that are wanting to create something or that have an idea, that we tend to talk ourselves out of it. We want to wait for the better camera, or we want to wait for the perfect opportunity, whatever that might be. The process is always going to feel scary. One of my favorite rules for life that I've been trying to implement for myself is a rule that I call show up before you're ready. And it comes from a podcast that I listened to with an amazing woman called Glennon Doyle Melton. So I'm going to read you what she says. She says, show up, put your butt in the chair, put your stuff out there. But it's not your job to babysit it. You aren't going to follow it around and make sure everyone likes it. You're an artist, not a lawyer. Your job is to make art, not defend it. That idea really resonates with me, and so yeah, I hope this was insightful. I would challenge you to show up to make something before you feel super ready to do it, and yeah, fail often, fail fast. It's all just a big learning experiment, and that's what I'm doing with this. That's what my Kenya video was. It's just my current best attempt. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for being on this journey with me, and I will see you soon.